warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Aaleyah mahira hasnita. I'm from 9.2 and my attendance is 1. So today I will talk about science in chemistry about chemical bonding. So first we go to the element and compound element. So an element is a pure substance made of only one type of atom. Every element has its own symbol in the periodic table. Scientists have discovered more than 100 different elements, and everything around us is made from elements. For example, oxygen, hydrogen, sodium, and carbon. Each element has different properties because it has a different number of protons. So we go to the compound. A compound always has a fixed ratio of elements. For example, water is always made of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. If the ratio changes, it becomes a different substance with a different property. So, example, water, H2O, a carbon dioxide, CO2, and sodium chloride, NaCl. A compound is a substance made when two or more different elements chemically combine. And then we go to the atom. An atom is the smallest part of the element that still has the properties of that element. Most of an atom is empty space. The nucleus is very small, but it contains almost all of the atom mass because it contains protons and neutrons. The electron move around the nucleus in energy level or cells. Parts of an atom proton is positive charge located in the nucleus determine the type of element and then neutral change 0 located in the nucleus at mass to the atom, and then electron negative charge moves around the nucleus, takes part in a chemical bonding. And then we go to the electron dot diagram or Lewis dot diagram. An electron dot diagram shows the valence electrons around an element symbol. Electron dot diagrams help us predict how atoms will form a chemical bonds by looking at the dots. We can easily see whether an atom will lose, gain, or share electrons to become stable. Example, oxygen O, carbon C. And then we go to the ionic bond. Ionic bond happens when electrons are transferred from one atom to another. Ionic bonds are easily formed because metals easily lose electrons, while non-metal easily gain electrons. These transfers make both atoms more stable. Usually, metals lose electron and non-metals gain electron. After the transfer, the metal become a positive ion and non-metal become a negative ion. These opposite charges attract each other. For example, sodium Na and chlorine Cl. Sodium Na has one valence electron, gives away one electron to chlorine or Cl. Chlorine has a 7 valence electron, receive 1 electron. They become Na plus and Cl min. These ions attract each other and form sodium chloride and HCl or table salt. And then they have a characteristic strong bonds, high melting point, conducts electricity when melt or dissolved in water. And then we go to the polar and non-polar covalent bonds. Although both shares electron, they do not always share them equally. Polar covalent bond, it's because the electrons are shared unequally. Polar molecules have a positive and the negative ends. This is why water can dissolve many substances. Electrons are shared unequally. One atom pulls the electron more strongly. This creates a slightly positive side, a slightly negative side. Example, water. H2O. Water is a polar because oxygen attracts electrons more strongly than hydrogen. And then the nonpolar. So the nonpolar molecules do not have a positive or negative ends, so they usually do not mix with water. Oil is a good example of a nonpolar substance. The nonpolar molecules do not have a positive or negative ends, so they usually do not mix with water. Oil is good example of nonpolar substance. Electrons are shared equally, but atoms have a similar attraction to electron. Example, O2. But oxygen atoms are the same, so they share electrons equally. Example of a molecule. We go to here. We go to the O2 oxygen gas, made of two oxygen atoms, forms a nonpolar covalent bonds, share electrons equally, needed for breathing. And then CO2, carbon dioxide, made of one carbon atom and two oxygen atoms, forms covalent bonds. Each carbon-oxygen bond is polar, but the molecule is overall non-polar because its linear shape makes the bonds effect cancel out. Produced during respirations and burning fuels used by the plants like photosynthesis and NaCl, sodium chloride made from sodium and chlorine, forms an ionic bond. Sodium transfer to electron to chlorine, commonly known as table salt, used every day in food. 7. Conclusion. To conclude, atoms form chemical bonds to more stable. There are different types of bonding. Ionic bonds transfer electron, covalent bonds share electron, metallic bonds have a free-moving electrons, hydrogen bonds are attraction between certain molecules. Understanding chemical bondings help us explain how substances are formed and why they have different properties. Chemical bonding is one of the most important topics in chemistry because almost everything around us is made from atoms and molecules. By understanding how atoms bond together, we can explain why different materials have different properties and how they are used in our daily life. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.